Good. Hi, I'm Brian Kulick. I'm the current chair of the theater program. And on behalf of the deans, the faculty, the staff, and our current students, I want to welcome you today to this session. And you should know right away, I have host anxiety. I don't know why that is, but these days always make me incredibly nervous. But I shouldn't be, because it's great to sing the praises of this extraordinary faculty and to have the opportunity to meet all of you at this interesting point in time where you're trying to decide training programs and futures. And we're very thankful that you thought of us. So I'm just going to say two things, and I'm going to turn it over to this extraordinary constellation of artists. People always ask, what's the difference between this school or that school and that sort of thing? And that's always a hard question. When I'm asked it, I have this sort of standard issue answer, which is, training programs break down into, programs that really focus on the how of the craft. And some programs really, focus on the why of the art, you know. And what I've always admired about Columbia is that it tries to do both. It really is engaged in the how we do what we do, but is equally concerned and passionate about why we need to do it and why we need to do it right now at this particular moment in time. And it's that combo platter that I think makes this program and these artists so wonderful to spend time with. The other thing I'd like to say that makes our program unique is this constellation of artists and all the other teachers and adjuncts that are with us. I am the product of two major training programs. I've taught at other major training programs, and I can say without bias that this is one of the most gifted groups of artists teaching right now. And not only that, they all get along, which is really which is really sort of extraordinary and beautiful. Oh, I would, Ann and I have trained the students who replaced my teachers at those training programs, so it feels very edible. But I shouldn't say the names of those places because I don't want to denigrate them, but they're good places. So at any rate, I'm almost done. That's basically my spiel. So you're going to hear from me again because they want me to talk to you about the production aspect of things. But now I'd like to just turn things over to my dear mentor, friend, colleague, and inspiration, Ann Bogart, who runs the directing program.
Yeah, three, two. Hi, everybody. I always notice in this room that when you first start listening, when it's amplified like this, that you can't hear a thing, and then that the ears adjust, and little by little it becomes very clear. It's weird. I guess this room has bad acoustics that are our ears define. Anyway, I'm here to talk about the directing program. For those of you who are here interested in the directing program, it's based on practice. Theory, yes, but practice, it leads with practice. And what we hope that the directors come out of after 3 years is essentially muscles, director muscles, not expecting the world to give them everything, but to make it themselves. And that means a lot of practice. And we also believe that you learn most by putting work in front of an audience. So from your second week at Columbia, you are putting work in front of an audience. Granted, it's an audience of your friends, your colleagues, other actors in other directors' pieces, people you drag in off the street. You're encouraged to have an audience twice a week, especially in your first semester, once for Brian with the Greeks and once a week for me. So you do two fully produced short pieces a week. And by the third week, you don't know who you are. You've used up all your director tricks, and then you start to work intuitively. So you get practice putting work in front of an audience, and then concurrently, for another session, you get intense critique with nobody watching. So nobody's invited to those sessions. And not only do Brian and I critique your work, but your colleagues do. So this is a program that takes 6 directors, which I think is the largest directing program in the country. I think I'm true, right? Yeah, I think so. So that it also means that your working on being a collective, which is essentially what the theater is about. It's about social systems, how we get along, how we can get along better, about creating model societies. So throughout the 3 years, you're always making work, not 2 shows a week for your entire 3 years. It actually gets a little less intense. Well, it stays intense, so the directors say. Then you do 2 or 3 per semester, and then you do 2 per semester, and then you do 1 in your final year of a thesis production and 2 internships. But you're always putting work out. You're always getting critiqued. You're always getting feedback. You're always putting it in front of an audience. And in addition to that, you're studying with some extraordinary people you see sitting at this table, or our adjunct faculty, or other professors who are really experts in their field to teach you how to study. I mean, I remember coming out of grad school, which was really a performance, what's it called now? Performance theory program, and basically just had developed an appetite for study, because you can't study everything in 3 years, but you can develop an appetite for study. So there's uh, a lot of work, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears, a lot of hope, a lot of dreams, a lot of frustrations. And you should know what kind of place you're coming to. As they say when you get on the plane, or they used to, like, we're going to Chicago. If you want to go to New York, get off now. Anyway, we're not going to Chicago. We're going to New York. That's the other thing, is it's New York. I'll pass it on to Scott.
I don't know how to follow that. That was awesome. Good morning. I'm Scott Whitehurst. I'm part of the acting concentration. So if there are actors present, welcome. First and foremost, I want to piggyback off my boss and say that these concentrations, we don't just get along, we get along very, very well. And that is a tremendous asset for anything that you're studying here at the School of the Arts, because there's no disconnect when you say, I got a little scheduling thing, let me talk to somebody, and it's resolved rather quickly, right? And joyfully. And that's terribly important in your training. Okay, so what are we doing, and how do we work? We want you to accept, deepen, and expand upon your own humanity as an artist. We want you to confront your dreams. We want you to accept the possibility of great success. We want you to, most importantly, in 3 years, figure out your purpose. There's a lot of conversation in the internet about, I have imposter syndrome. Well, I have a cure for it. Know why you do things. Can't be an imposter if you have a purpose and you know why you're doing something. We're going to train you a whole lot of different ways. I don't want you to necessarily accept all the ways we train you or the scenes that we give you. But by the end of 3 years, I want you to know for sure, what kind of actor do I want to be? What do I want to lend my gifts to? What kind of stories do I want to tell truthfully? So that I can help humanity grow a little bit. So we can love a little harder and accept a little more. Because when you see a great performance, even if it's regarding themes that you never thought, I never really thought about that, you can't shake it. The performance sticks with you like mud. It sticks on you. You're like, what is that? And now you're thinking about it. And that's the gift of great acting. I made them look at something. I made them look at themselves. I did it for a purpose. I didn't want to be famous. I wanted us to be better. Yeah? Nice to meet you all. Now under my grand colleague, Leslie.
Hi, I'm Leslie Daisian. Can you hear me? Yeah, good. Okay, great. So I am the interim chair of the playwriting department. So I actually feel that everything that has already been said also applies to the playwrights. I'm also tempted to say I don't know these people and I don't like them. Okay, I said that now. Okay, the thing about the playwriting department, which is so extraordinary, is that you get options and you get opportunities to experiment. You get opportunities to make messy work and work that doesn't work. And what do you learn from that? You have many opportunities for productions. You spend 2 years on campus, 1 year off campus, creating a thesis play, which gets to happen in this building in an exquisite theater that I think you're going to visit. There is no requirement that you do that production. You just need to write a full-length play. We are here for you to help you through that whole year, whether or not you are on campus. The thing you do need to know is we are here to help you through the very interesting, difficult, challenging experience of writing a play. They are incredible things to write. And in my mind, they are the hardest things to write. What you need about reflecting humanity, what people are like, how contradictory we are, and how hard it is to do things. It's very hard to actually write a love story, for instance. That's hard. So how do we do that? When you're here, I'm going to tell you about the fact that you get to experiment with so many different kinds of writing. You'll have TV writing, you'll have screenwriting, you'll have solo show writing. You will have extraordinary professors taking you through the full year, 2 semesters, writing full-length plays. You also have the opportunities to collaborate with all the other concentrations to create your work. So you get to know each other, and hopefully, you will bounce out of here with a team. That's a cool thing to happen in grad school. That is a cool thing. And the thing about us, and I really actually do like them, the thing about us is that we do collaborate with each other, and you'll see that and feel that, and it influences you. So yay us. And yay you. There are other things also that happen here is you also get to be part of interviews and taking master classes. Master classes happen a lot in TV writing. You get to do that. Screenwriting, you get to do that because we want you to be able to make a dime when you get out of here. The other thing is that we have a visiting artist class taught by Ann Bogart. And I think, Ann, didn't you just recently have Sarah Rule as your, yeah. And who you've also had, well, Jamie Lloyd, yeah, and Kenny Leon. So you really get to ask questions of people who are in it and doing it. And being in New York, you'll be surrounded by people who are in it and doing it. So I have invited a couple of playwrights, one who graduated in 2016, one who is a second-year student right now, and we'll be sitting somewhere over here. They can answer questions for you. If you're a playwright or anyone who's interested, just come talk to us. This is Christian Parker. He's a dear friend of mine, actually, truly, really. We've actually worked together a number of times, an incredible dramaturg, and he's chair of the dramaturgy department. Go, Christian.
You could hand me the mic instead of moving it away from me.
I thought you could use that.
I like Leslie as well.
Toss it.
Hi, hi, everybody. I'm Christian Parker. Often when people hear the term dramaturgy, they immediately glaze over. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what that is for anybody who doesn't know. And the way I would start to describe what we do in dramaturgy is that much as Anne said, the program is actually really focused on practice. And what does practice in dramaturgy mean? It means how we collaborate. It means how we understand and storytelling, dramatic storytelling, and how we develop the tools that we need in order to express what we know about those things to other people in the room and to amplify the work of our collaborators, directors, playwrights, actors, producers. Dramaturgy is a descriptive term more than it is like a destination. It describes process. It describes how the sausage gets made, essentially, how plays work and theatrical events work. And so our students come into this program from really multidisciplinary backgrounds. Most people who come into an MFA program in dramaturgy haven't studied dramaturgy formally in undergrad. If they've studied theater at all, they've probably been an actor or a director or a writer. And we hope that they will continue to see themselves as multidisciplinary artists who are also broadening a skill set around the things that I just listed, in the interest of complicating and illuminating the work that they participate in. What that means professionally for people down the road is a wide variety of things. I mean, as Leslie said, we hope that our students will be able to make a dime when they leave. And there are people in the world with the title dramaturg who actually make some money doing that. But that's a very narrow slice of the pie. Our students go on into all kinds of artistic leadership jobs in not-for-profit theaters. They work in the commercial sphere with commercial producers. Many have gone into film and television development and executive roles. Some go on to be agents and managers. Some have started their own theater companies. Some also do other things. I also direct plays sometimes. I'm a dramaturg and I direct. That's how Leslie and I first worked together, and I've directed a couple of her plays. Um, uh, some people are really who come through this program really have um, uh, a wide variety of interests. Generally speaking, they're pretty entrepreneurial, and they often go off in very different directions. And what that means actually within the cohort, we usually shoot for a cohort of 6 as well. It varies year to year a little bit. Sometimes it's 1 or 2 fewer. Sometimes it's 1 or 2 more than that. Um, what that means, and I think this is really true of the directing program too, in particular, I think it's probably true everywhere, but is that it's an eclectic group of people who have different interests. They're not all coming in with the same expectations. And what that does is make for a really lively conversation over the course of the 3 years of study. The dramaturgy students are also in classes with all of the other disciplines at various points. Some of the classes I teach are open to the other disciplines at various points. I co-teach a class with Tori, who you'll meet in a minute, in the spring, about looking at the whole sort of ecology of the American theater, and we call it Reimagining the American Theater. And it's a class that's really about looking at producing models and how we can do this differently and how we can do this better, and looking at it from the artistic side and from the sort of managerial side and the producing side. So all of that to say, dramaturgy is kind of where everything else intersects. And our students are very expansive, and they're thinking about what they might do later. It's really helpful if they come in without very specific expectations about where this is leading, and open themselves up to possibilities. That's also why for most of these concentrations we require internships, because the internships are really seen as part of the curriculum, as a way to expand the professional options and outlets for the students in every area. So that's a really brief overview of what we do. The classes are quite wide ranging. You'll intersect with a lot of adjunct faculty, as well as a lot of these people and me. Our other sort of full-time person who's associated with the concentration, not exclusively at all, but kind of officially, is Maria Jose Contreras, who is a brilliant theater historian and dramaturg and performer, multidisciplinary artist in her own right. So that's a little overview. One of the things that's true about this, I don't know if this got mentioned or is super obvious in the admissions site, but Columbia, unlike some other programs, invites and welcomes you to apply to more than one concentration at a time if that's of interest to you. Um, so dramaturgy is often something that people discover kind of along the way when they're applying to grad school. I did. I was not looking to go to grad school in dramaturgy when I discovered that it was an option for me. So I've just put that out there in case suddenly somebody finds an interest. Come find us wherever we gather in this room afterwards. If you have some curiosity about it, I'd be happy to tell you more. And now I will hand off to my friends Stephen Shakelson and Tori Bailey from the Theater Management and Producing Program.
Hi, everybody, and hi to everybody online. I think that's the camera there. So hi to everybody online also. There's sort of pros and cons about being the 5th concentration to speak. There's a little bit of repetition, but hopefully I get to also build on what has already been said. I run the Theater Management and Producing concentration with my colleague, Victoria Bailey. We're going to share with you some of our values and philosophy and how they intersect with the program that we offer. So for starters, we believe that our strength comes from the diversity of the students and the faculty. We come from a lot of different backgrounds, have a lot of very different points of view, and we believe that we can learn from each other. Students learn from each other. Students learn from faculty. Faculty learn from the students. We believe that we don't have to accept the status quo of this art form and of this industry. You need to learn how things work. You need to learn how things got this way. And then armed with that knowledge, you can move forward and make change. We believe that producers and managers are artists and are integral to the creative process. We support that process. We contribute and participate in that process. We're also very creative about how we approach problems and how we find solutions. We also believe that an MFA program should prepare you for a career in the business, right? Very strong foundation for a career to go out and get a job and have a career. And most of our students go on to a career in the theater. But we're also really proud of alumni who go on and get law degrees and PhDs, or take what they've learned in the program and then generalize it and move on to other industries, applying what they've learned in this program. So then we're going to take those values, that philosophy, so to speak, and apply it to the program itself. And from my perspective, having been through an MFA program myself, I think that if you're looking for a graduate program, you need to assess each program on the basis of curriculum, contacts, and community. I'm going to just say a little bit about an overview of our curriculum. We believe in balance, and we believe in really a highly individualized program in and around all the various requirements. So our program balances the commercial theater and the not-for-profit theater. We balance producing and entrepreneurship with management and administration. As I've already said, we look at history, we look at current practice, and we look at ways in which that we can change things for the future. We have an intense focus in New York City. It's hard not to. We are here in the city, and so much theater is made here. But we also try not to be so New York-centric. And we look and see how theater is made and what is being presented around the country and internationally as well. And then we also believe it's important to balance what happens in the classroom with professional experiences. And so you, over the course of your time in the program, through internships, observerships, fellowships, paid jobs, you are able to complement what you learn in the classroom and have that balance between theory and practice. We have a lot of almost feeder programs in the industry where students go and intern and work. We also have developed over the past few years a lot of industry partnerships, and there's one that I want to highlight in particular because it's turned into the most amazing experience. Back in 2019, we started a partnership with an organization known as Stage One, which is part of the Society of London Theatre. And basically, we have an exchange program where 12 participants in the Stage One Emerging Producers Program they come to New York for a week in the fall, integrate with our students, learn about how to produce in America. And then in the spring, our second-year students go to London for a week where we're hosted, where there are opportunities to network with theater practitioners in London, and we learn about how theater is made in the UK. And I'm going to turn it over to Tori to talk more about sort of the contacts and community piece of this.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, here and online. It's good to be here. As Stephen said, I'm going to talk about a little bit about the other two things. I want to just drive home the fact that our program is, as Stephen said, we teach both commercial and nonprofit. I think we're probably the only program that does that. And I think the reason that's important is that as time goes on, the lines between those things are getting more and more blurred. And so not only do we teach them both, but we respect them both, right? And so in any given class, they're going to be usually, we like to say My background is primarily in the not-for-profit sector. Stevens is primarily in the commercial sector. We do like each other. But what that means is there's a balance and there's a way we really do focus on learning together. And that extends into the teaching faculty, the adjunct faculty. We draw faculty, adjunct faculty from all over the city. And actually not all of them live in New York. We've got a couple who come in every week to teach from wherever they currently are living. But you get to, the students in the program are exposed to working professionals in the field. All of the adjuncts are working and all of them are committed to teaching and carving out time in their day to come in and teach. So they are really committed faculty. You get different points of view. People disagree with each other, which is great. You have to figure out what works for you. What's your style and manner going to be as a producer? We think that's really important. We talk a lot about whose work do you want to be part of making? So the faculty comes, working professionals, extreme, probably to the point of sometimes people get a little tired of it. There, some of the folks are in the room, very significant advisorship and mentoring, right? Stephen and I, between us, you have an advisor and we're with you throughout the 3 years. And frankly, if you choose, we're with you beyond, right? We don't lose touch with our advisees. And I think in a business that can be confusing and have a lot of choices, that's important. We have a very diverse class every year in every sense of the word, which means, again, you're learning from folks who are different than you. And you're figuring out how to come together and be a cohort, and every cohort has its own personality. You are taking class and collaborating with folks in other disciplines. In the time that I've been teaching here, I think it's fair to say that the emphasis on collaboration has grown and grown and grown. Christian and I teach together, as you heard. I'm teaching a course in the spring, which I'm hoping will be of interest to students across the different concentrations. And I think that's a skill set that's really valuable. And you're part of a larger program. You have hands-on producing and management opportunities through the 3 years with your colleagues in the school. And finally, we have a pretty decent network of alumni. We actually are getting pretty good at knowing where they are and having an alumni base. And it provides other opportunities for students when you say, you know, I'm looking at you, Melissa, when they say, I want to spend the 3rd year, I want to be back out, I want to be on the West Coast. This is what I'm interested in. This is where I want to go, because we've got folks all over the country. And then frankly, in a lot of places around the world, we're really able to help. So that's the kind of curriculum, content, relationship, contact point of view. And I think I'm supposed to give it back to you,
Yeah, I'm
or
going to say that we have a number of first, second, and third-year students
right.
here, and we're happy to chat in a lot more detail once we break out of this formal panel discussion. And just to plug it, Tori and I are going to be doing an online info session specifically about the theater management and producing program beginning of December. And so everybody's welcome to join us for that as well, where we'll go into much more detail.
Now we'll turn it over to Linda Marble and we'll do the other part of management.
Hello, everyone, and to everyone online. I'm Linda Marvel, and I'm a member of the stage management faculty here. And I am the last concentration to speak, and everything has been said pretty much. But I do want to emphasize a couple of points that we take really seriously in the stage management concentration. First, what Brian spoke about, the how and the why. The concentration head of stage management is Michael Pissarro, a fantastic and amazing stage manager. It's very important in our concentration to interact with students first on the why. Why are you here? Why are you a stage manager? Why a stage manager in theater? What brings you to that space? What brings you into that room to collaborate with these other artists? And then into the how. You take that why with you into the how because it informs your how. Our concentration with a huge emphasis, as I believe all the concentrations here, on artistry and specifically for stage managers and leadership. We take a very bespoke approach to our students, exactly how that particular individual wants to carve a path through graduate school and into the profession and through their career. And we take great pride in considering each student as an individual, not something to be formed and plugged into an industry norm, if you will. So, and that very much comes from our interaction with our students in terms of the why. Why are they there, and why do they want to be in those rooms with those collaborators? To that end, I think for us, much like the other concentrations have already spoken about, the marriage of theory and practice. So we also have a very robust mentoring and advising aspect to our program. Michael is very involved in that, and then I sort of head up the mentoring and advising actually in the rehearsal studios and in the theaters in practice. And the theory is in the classroom. And there's only so much as a stage manager, there's only so much you can do in the classroom in terms of learning the theory. You learn the theory, but then you have to apply it. And it's in the application of it where things kind of get messy and things, you learn how it is that you want to do what you do. What is your leadership style as an individual? And then how do you approach the work and act on that leadership style actually in the rooms? And we celebrate messy. We celebrate trying something and experimenting, and then looking towards your next production to take what you've learned from that experimentation and apply it in a different way or refine the way you're applying it on your next production. So to that end, just a little curricular in terms of what we do in practice. When you're here, you'll participate as an assistant stage manager or deck manager on 2 to 3 productions, which is great value not only in learning our spaces and sort of the way in which Columbia practices theater and the things that happen in our spaces. You'll learn from stage managers that are in their 2nd and 3rd year in the program. And also our 2nd and 3rd year students who are PSMs will learn how to work with a team and how to manage a team as they're also managing a room, which is incredibly important as a production stage manager. And then you'll do at least 2, often more, production stage manager positions on shows. 2 are required, and often our students choose to do more here, and culminating in your 3rd year with a thesis production as well as a written thesis. And then on top of all that, we also require 2 internships, like the other concentrations that helps you sort of build on your network. Stage management is a very network-driven career path, so you need to be building your network while you are still in school. Primarily that happens for our students here in New York, but they also will do an internship over the summer, maybe regionally or internationally, wherever we try and encourage people to start building the network in their chosen path. We have alumni pretty much all over the place. We have an alumni that opened the Disney World in China. We have other stage management alumni that work at various Disney facilities across the globe. We have alumni on Broadway, off Broadway, in the regional theater system. And as Tori spoke, that those systems overlap now in a much greater degree than they did 20 years ago. So everything feeds each other. And we also have alumni in live events. I just collaborated with one 2 weeks ago on an event, an alumni. And also, like our other concentrations, we are very much there for you, not only while you're in the program, but as you are graduating and out into the world. I think I myself have had 4 meetings with alumni in the last 2 months, as they reach out and say, hey, this is my situation, and let's talk about it. I want to talk about either it's about finding work or maybe how to move from theater into live events, if that's sort of piquing their interest at the moment. So we like to support you as much as you want, as well as you move off into the professional world, hopefully with your own individualized, developed concept of stage management and leadership.
Now I'm supposed to talk to everyone a little bit about production at Columbia. Uh, um, this room is a pretty nice room, and the building is a pretty nice building, and you won't see this room or this building for 2 more years. Uh, we have other facilities, and they're a little less spiffy. Um, and you could say a little bit about Columbia. We're one of the younger programs. You know, we were started a while ago and then we rebooted. So we're kind of young and we're kind of scrappy. And we sort of started scrappy, and scrappy is kind of baked into the pedagogy. And I think part of the success, and I know people say things like this, and you roll your eyes and you go, yeah, right. But I do really honestly believe that part of the success of Columbia alums is due to the resourcefulness that class after class has to deal with in all working together to make something magical happen. And we don't have the bells and whistles. We have bells and whistles. We have one bell. We have 3 whistles. But we don't have all the bells and whistles of some of the other programs that you might be interested in. But I would argue that those bells and whistles can be a distraction, and they can make you a little lazy, and they can make you complacent, and they can make you sort of sit back and think that other people are going to do things for you. And in that respect, I think Columbia artists have a tendency to sort of just do it themselves. They get out of here and they go, what? You mean you're making so many things while you're here? You're doing so many things. You're making so many groups. You're building so many relationships. People just come out and just start making theater. It's almost like a switch gets um, switched, and people just cannot stop making things. And it doesn't matter where that starts to happen. So you're going to see downstairs. Some of you are going to go, I believe, to see one of the wonderful actors' theses. You'll see Lenfest, which is our sort of jewel space. We have other spaces to work, and you should just know that they don't look like this. In all transparency, but they're not bad. They're just not this. Is that fair to say? Please, colleagues?
Production is at the center of everything that we do also, even though the bells and whistles may not be grandiose. Like, as Anne was saying, the directors do put up a lot of work, but so does everyone. Everybody, the whole program is really based around collaboration and putting up work in all kinds of different
in
configurations.
different spaces and
Yeah.
different. Clarence, how many shows? It's like amazing. Like, what are we doing? Like 37 in just this semester, in this first semester? Is that close? We have at least 25 projects happening this semester, and they're full projects. They're not like, oh, we're doing something in a room for 15 minutes. They're like, 2-hour things, 25 of them in one semester. It's a tremendous volume of work. And that's the work is just part of the ethos of this place.
Brian, I'd just like to add that I think that what you said about people having to be sort of imaginative and intuitive and solve problems because of the spaces, but I do want to just put in a favorable vote for Shapiro. I do think that both the theater and the studio produce interesting challenges and wonderful work.
Yeah,
Don't
some
we
of our
all?
best work comes out of
Wonderful, some of the best work.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. You'll meet them.
So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Julie, what do we have to do next?
So I'm going to talk a little bit about admissions and financial aid because I am the Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid, which makes sense, of course. I am also a very proud alum of the theater program at the Theater Management and Producing concentration. So I have been in and around Columbia since 1997. And I will tell you what the faculty are saying about keeping in touch with alums is totally true because Stephen Chagelson got me my job. So, and kept in touch with him for many years and continue to. So welcome to all of you in person. Welcome to all of you on Zoom. We are so happy to see you today. It's so nice to see faces that are interested in creating art because really that's just what we need more of these days. So thank you for coming and for your interest. Just a couple things. I wanted to introduce myself, of course, and also the other members of the admissions and financial aid team. Over the next several months, if you choose to apply, and we hope you do, we will be the people that, if you have any questions, if you have both about it, the admissions process, financial aid, et cetera, we will be the ones who you can reach out to. It's myself. The two people that checked you in downstairs are Tori Sheffer and Niquette Johnson, and Kenny Wong, who is running the whole Zoom session even as we speak. It's the four of us. And so please feel free to reach out. We are here to answer your questions. We're a small team, but we are also scrappy, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Just some important dates that I want to make sure you have on your radar. The applications are due for directing on December 4th, which is less than a month away. And then for the other theater concentrations, it's on January 7th, so you have a bit more time. There's also financial aid applications that you need to submit if you want to be considered for financial aid. All of our financial aid is open to both domestic students and international students. The applications that you need to submit if you are a domestic student or permanent resident are the FAFSA, which you probably know from undergraduate is the Federal Student Aid Form. And also we have our own School of the Arts financial aid application. So if you're a domestic student, you need to do both of those. If you're an international student, we just ask you to do the School of the Arts financial aid application. That is due on February 4th. Please submit it on time. One thing that is very important that you know is that the application is need blind. So you will not at all be counted out if you apply for financial aid in order in getting into the program. That the admissions committee is not going to see your financial aid application. They will not weigh your need in as to whether or not you are admitted to the program. So please do submit the applications if you are in need of scholarship support. We will be holding Q&A sessions via Zoom for almost all of the concentrations closer to the application deadlines. So please feel free to sign up for those. It's a great opportunity for you to ask more specific questions about the concentrations you're interested in. And we're also going to have a financial aid only Zoom session on December 18th at 7 p.m. We'll send you information about that as well. That's a great opportunity for you to ask any questions you have about the financial aid process, how we go about awarding, and about the application itself. And just so you know, the awarding process is a combination of both merit and need. Merit is determined by the application, by the admissions committee, and then need is determined by the information you submit on those documents. Just a little bit of some details on the theater program specifically, because we're often asked these questions. There's typically between 500 and 600 applications per year, and there's around 52 spots in the theater program as a whole, 52 students that we admit every year. So the selectivity rate is around 19%. And this past year, 82% of incoming students received scholarship support with an average award of $36,000. So just something to keep in mind. Next, I think we're going to move to Q&A. So those of you who are here in person, there's a microphone in the center you can step up to. I also have a lot of questions from Zoom that I have been gathering, so I'm going to put those out there as well. And the faculty will be able to answer them. After that, we're going to move into concentration. So if you have a question that's very specifically about playwriting or about one of the other concentrations, if you want to hold that, that will be answered once we move into concentrations after this. So thank you. All right, I guess let me start with some of these questions that I've been collecting online, and then feel free to stand up if you're here and ask questions as well. All right, so this is for about acting. What about Columbia's MFA acting program is specific to creating professional actors with long-lasting careers? How are they prepped for life after graduation?
Yowza. Exactly. I like that question. So I don't believe in programs that would exist that wouldn't prepare you for a long career. I don't know why you would want to go to a place to study something and then not do it. So the entire focus for 3 entire years is to get you ready to start walking and not stop until it's over. Specifically, you start the first year, it's a foundational year, because if you're going to build a house, the most important part of it is the part you don't see. And a house can't stand if it has a lousy foundation. So that we're going to make sure that you know how to take in behavior, how to read behavior, and how to work well with the text. The second year gets far more complicated because you're adding performance to it. You're moving into style. You get to meet me. I do Shakespeare that year. You know, you're starting to use heightened text. You're starting to work in film and TV. I could name a whole lot of other things that you could find online. And then third year is in many ways my favorite. I get to teach a course called Business of the Business. So here's my idea, and I think this is your answer. A lot of programs teach show art. They teach the craft of the craft. The problem is there is no show art, there's show business. And so when you get into the world, you suddenly realize, I don't really know how this world works. So in the first semester, I and James Clary, my immediate boss, we're teaching you what's a manager, what's an agent, what's a contract, what have I been hired to actually do. We're going to talk about money. You're going to meet financial managers. You're going to meet publicists. You're going to meet people to tell you how to navigate your actual career, not your probable career, and to build upon that. We're going to bring back alumni to tell you, these have been my immediate experiences. This is how that audition class actually works in the real world. This is what happened when I got put in. I'm so glad I got to work with these fabulous stage managers because I had to put in, I had 3 days to go in for somebody who fell down the stairs the other day. And I had to do a full performance. And I was ready for it because I knew how to work with people. So if you think in the acting program from show art to the transition to show business, by the time you're done and ready for your showcase, you're ready to meet folks. And they are looking for you to tell stories, to be part of things. And then I think finally, and I don't think it's talked about enough, especially in acting programs, we're going to talk about what I consider the most important thing: personal character. Not the character in the play, but your character. Because this is a collaborative business. And because your reputation, if you get out of here, you have no professional credits. So why am I hiring you? I'm hiring you because I heard when you say yes, it means yes. When you say no, it's no. You show up. You don't complain. You work well with others and you share and you're ready to do the work collaboratively. That reputation spreads like wildfire. Unfortunately, the opposite is also true. So no matter how deeply gifted you are, if people discover that you're a pain, you're done. You're done. That's why, fact is the fact, less gifted people who are better to be with work more often than deeply gifted people who are horrible to work with. Yeah?
Definitely true. Speaking of collaboration, we have 2 questions. Can we hear a little bit more about collaboration between the different concentrations? And also, I heard that the Columbia MFA programs collaborate with other schools in NYC too. Is it true? And can you go into more detail about that?
Okay. So the first part, let me talk with the second one is easy to unpack really fast. We do the directing program. Interestingly enough, Columbia does not have a design program. Interestingly enough, NYU doesn't have a directing program. So we team up with NYU. So directors in their second year, first and second year now, work with design faculty and students to collaborate on a series of model and paper projects. And many of those designers come and start making shows in working with our directors in our second year shows and in our third year thesis shows, and the first as well. Yes. So there's that I'm aware of. Is there immediately that would be the biggest immediate collaboration that happens. Yes, we're going to have design classes. Yes, yes, but right, right. In terms of collaboration, this is a very important aspect of Columbia, the theater program. The interesting thing is we have 2 years of training and 1 year where you do your thesis and your internship. So our program as a theater program is trying to do two things at once. One is train you the best we possibly can, which means we want you all the time. But also realizing that in order for you to really flourish, you have to collaborate, which means concentrations have to release actors to work with our directors, to work with our writers. And so it's a delicate balancing act of how we first do that foundational work that Scott is talking about, which is primarily the first year, where everyone's sort of like in their own incubation classrooms, learning their craft. And then we have a collaboration week in the second semester now, where the first year start to work and get to know one another. And then in the second year, we really start to structure and build in points of intersection. The biggest thing is the spring every spring is turned over to second year collaborations on a new play. So all concentrations team up into 6 or 7 groups and make work on a play that is written by one of our playwrights. Simultaneous with that, there's also in the third year in the spring, there's also a new play festival, which also relies on a lot of our actors and directors and dramaturgs and producers also working with the playwrights to realize those. We also now have tried to connect up directors Shakespeare with actors Shakespeare, so that actors and directors can start working on those things as well. So it's a delicate balance, but it's an important balance to be maintained. We have to train you, which means we have to hold on to you. No, you can't go and do this right away. But yes, in year 2, you have to do this, and the concentrations have to make. Is that fair to say?
If I could just add to that as well, collaboration is at the heart of what stage managers do. And from the very first year, our stage managers are in rooms together with actors from the acting concentration, dramaturgs, playwrights, directors, and producers. And so you're collaborating the entire time that you're here with students and cohorts across the concentrations. And I think another concentration mentioned how each cohort, each year of students in concentration kind of have their own personality. And that's true with the stage management concentration as well. And our students get to work with students in the other concentrations across all the years. So there'll be actors from the third year in a show, or directors from the second year, directors from the third year, dramaturgs and producers in all the years. So it's just constant collaboration for the students, I believe.
And I think the last thing to add is that it's modeled by this group of people in the faculty, right? Because collaboration only works if we all believe in it, and we believe in it, I think, deeply, and we all reinforce each other, and that helps us encourage all of you to do that.
And just to
I would
speak.
also say that it
Oh,
wasn't always that way. Actually, for those of us who've been here a very long time, there was no collaboration for a long time. There was a lot of siloing. And it's this group sitting at this table that made a revolution. And now it's kind of a joke. Every class is called collaboration. It's like, which collaboration are you talking about? Whenever we talk to NYU, they say, how's collaboration class going? I'm going, all of our classes do that now. So, but I would say there was a revolution. So it hasn't always been that. And it's been an effort. It's taken a lot of come to Jesus moments to make it happen. Because as we all know in this room, collaboration is impossible. Therefore, we should try.
I was going to say almost exactly that, Anne. And to add, in terms of the producers, the 25 or so productions that are being done this semester, so more or less 50 over the course of the school year, producers are involved in the vast majority of them. And it's only in rare occasions that you get assigned to a particular production. Most of the time, the producing students are out there really doing what they would do in the real world, discovering talent, figuring out who they want to work with, and then working with them. And there are relationships that get started in the first or second year, that continue into the second and third year, and that then continue on after you graduate.
Um, Yeah, and I would just add that, like, I mean, it's sort of already been said, but part of why we emphasize this so much and like have lost all sense of what the term even means, um, in some ways, is because it's so ubiquitous. Is that we want everybody from this program, from the theater program, no matter their discipline, to leave here with their people. We want you to find collaborators and fellow travelers that you will want not only want to go work with, but will take out into the world to help you make the work that you want to be able to make. And it requires a lot of help. And to have some people alongside you from different disciplines, especially who can help you get there, is really important. And that's part of what we want to confer on our students, because we feel like it's really to your advantage.
Great. We've had a few questions about internships, asking for examples of internships and what is the process to get internships. So if you guys could talk about that a little bit.
I'll start, but I know my colleagues will chime in. So internships are a big part of your third year. Most of our concentrations require 2 internships. You're looking at a faculty that is unnervingly well connected, really well connected. And so if you say, gee, I would really like to work with X, chances are someone on this at this table, or one of our adjuncts or one of our associates just had lunch with X, and we'll give you, an introduction. So the Schubert organization also kindly, graciously, wonderfully underwrites, gives money for your internship so that you get a stipend that can help you. And yeah, the internship is an incredibly important part of making that, the third year is a liminal year. It's a transitional year. Half of the year is really spent still here in this building, finally making things. And then also making those first major steps into the rooms and offices and theaters and spaces that you imagine yourself spending the rest of your life in. And so it's this table and their colleagues that will help facilitate that.
I just want to say that's extremely true for the stage managers, although we really encourage them to go out and actively search for their own internships. It's a muscle that you have to develop to have a career in this business. Like I said, it's a networking business. That said, all of the faculty, all the stage management faculty are working professionals. And so they are uniquely positioned to help you find those internships, or to, like Brian said, connect you with people. Oftentimes, if they're on a show themselves, well, they always are, but if they have the opportunity to bring you in to help and assist in the room on a reading or a workshop, or even on the rehearsal process for a new show, that can be a possibility. So there's enormous support for it, while we also encourage you to get out there and exercise your muscle to find your own work.
Yeah, I just want to weigh in a little bit about the difference between a mentorship and an internship. When you have a mentorship, what we're looking for, ideally, what we're looking for is that you get to work one-on-one with someone that you respect, someone whose work resonates with you, someone who inspires you. And as Brian said, we do have ways of contacting people remarkably. And what's so wonderful is that these people say yes. And what your relationship with them will be is this person will work with you. I'm talking to the playwrights around now, because that's what I know at the moment. But this person will work with you on your play. You give them the play, they will rework it with you. They will come to see the final performance. So that's a very personal and private relationship. The internship relationship could be, you are sitting next to Martina Mayak in rehearsal, and you're going to be taking notes for her, and listening and maybe getting to talk with her, probably, maybe or maybe not, she will read your work. It's not the same relationship. It's very much you're having a bit of a business relationship in your internship. Sometimes I found that to be, or you're at the roundabout reading plays that are being, that's the world of it. You enter the world of business and you're guided by the person who you signed up with.
Why don't we take the questions from the people in the room, please? Step up to the mic.
Hello, my name is Joseph Doom. I'm a prospective dramaturgy student. This is sort of pursuant to what we've just been talking about. I know there's like a lot of support for internships and mentorships and things like that. If you're sort of currently engaged in professional work and you're interested in like having that happen co-curricularly, is there a lot of support for like doing professional work while doing this, or is the vision more that that Columbia is more of a full-time commitment than that?
I think I'll probably speak on behalf of most of these people when I answer the question, but I'm taking it just because you're a prospective dramaturgy student. There's certainly no, I would say from my point of view, there's no prohibition certainly against a student in the program continuing to pursue creative and professional work outside of the program while they're here, but the demands of the program might preclude that. So if I realize that may sound contradictory, but it is the first 2 years of the program in particular are very full-time. And part of that full-timeness is also about the time that dramaturgy students in particular take to forge relationships with their collaborators in the other disciplines and to make themselves known and to learn more about what they have to offer and to put that forth so that when the directors are assigned their Chekhov projects or their Shakespeare projects or the materials projects that Anne assigns, that they are ready and game to be enlisted to work on those things and to put themselves forward for those things. So and all of that stuff is not baked into the day-to-day classes, right? So there's a lot of activity. So I have found in the past that it's difficult for students to be less than full-time in the first 2 years. The third year, as Brian was saying, is more liminal. We've made it in every area more robust. But I think anybody who would come into the MFA program in any discipline would want to really be prepared to make it their full-time commitment first and foremost.
Hi, I'm Christian Masonic. I'm a prospective playwriting student. First of all, thank you for taking the time to do this and be here. An aspect of this that's always kind of intimidated me a little bit is the personal statement. Maybe this is kind of a holdover from undergrad, but I always feel like unless I have some truly astounding personal journey, I'm nervous. I don't know what to say other than I really like doing this, and boy, I sure hope you think I'm good at it, which is what everybody feels. So if there's anything specific or that you would like that you find most engaging in personal stories, something that you're maybe looking for that beyond the obvious, that might help some of us who are a little nervous about that know kind of where to begin.
I can jump in with it's a small idea, but it's a starting place. I can remember, I'm on the admissions, I can remember reading an application where the essay was the person who chose to write the essay wrote about the 3 seconds that happened before the gun went off, before he ran a marathon race, and what he thought in those 3 minutes. So what I'm suggesting to you, darling, is that you think about something that authentically rings for you.
Okay.
And if you can bring your authentic voice to any part of the application, and there are lots of different times you could do that. But because I can remember this essay from years ago of what happened in 3 seconds. If you can take something like that and carve it so that it doesn't have a ton of adjectives, and it basically tells something you're thinking and something that matters. What we want to know is what matters. And how do we work with that? Okay.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
we can get a shimmering sense of who you are. That's the best we can ask for, a shimmering sense. And if you fall into doing what you think you should be doing, we can sense that.
Gotcha.
And we're more interested in what you want to be doing.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I just want to add that, really for, at least as I think about it, for anybody who's applying, producing program anywhere else, there is no one part of the application that is the be all and end all.
Right.
We're looking sort of holistically. We want that your application, introduce yourselves to us, right? We want to find out who you are. So it's not about the magic of a personal statement or statement of objectives or creative portfolio or any of those things. It's about the whole package. And who are you? Tell us who you are. Be yourself. Your application should reflect who you are and what you want to be.
I would also add just quickly that I think it's always interesting to find out sort of why this place, why now. And of course, no one who's applying has all of the information about what this is until you get here, right? But like, what is pulling you towards this place, and why is now the right time to do it? And I think that would be true probably for any discipline for you. Like, what's true now? That who you are and what's on your mind right now is much more compelling, at least when I read the applications I read, than a whole history of how you found your way into the theater, right? We all found our way in mostly when we were much younger. And the biographical essays that I read that I find less compelling often are those that sort of offer a chronology of like, well, there was that time that I was in Three Little Pigs, and then sometimes that is the most indelible moment in someone's life and it's worth exploring, but I'm much more interested in meeting you now.
And I would say the other thing, piggybacking on this, is it's okay to indicate in your application you don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
Because, one of the things we get asked a lot in the admissions process, is within the management and producing program, what are we looking for? We're looking for people who are inquisitive about this thing called the theater and don't necessarily understand it all, but know that it's the space they want to work in. So you don't have to have it all. If you have it all buttoned up, why are you coming to school? Right? So it's okay.
Right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Hello, everyone in the room. My name is Anant. I'm sorry I was late. I don't know if you have already discussed this, but I just wanted to ask, how does a usual week looks like for MFA acting students, and what are the classes for the first and the second semester?
Maybe we should hold off on that one until you break out into concentrations, because that's so.
Fair. That
Yep,
would be
yeah,
easy.
because
And
I
I'd
think
like to-
other people will want to know that
It's
as
a
well.
good question,
Yeah,
but
I'd
it's
like to-
very
grand question,
different.
But I'd like you to hear
Okay.
from the student.
Yeah, we're going to do that in just a minute. Let's take one more question from here. And then I have one more question from Zoom, and then we'll break out.
Hello, my name's Hannah, and I'm interested in the directing concentration. I think you've talked about why now from us, but I'm a little bit wondering, as an applicant who's always wondering when the right time to apply is, if there's something that makes you think, this is right now for you, or you should wait a little bit as an applicant.
Yeah, as a director, I'll speak to you on that. Sometimes it's important to come right when you get out of undergrad. You just kind of need to get through it. Other times you need to take 15 years off and, well, not off, and come back. Actually, we had a student, wonderful student from Iceland, who when she was here, her daughter was in the graduate film department. And so it really is up to the person. Harry, where'd you go? Harry just got out of school. I said, just get through it. You just need to get through your MFA. Other people need to wait, you'll meet Harry. Other people need to have experience, but you can feel it in the application. You can feel the timing, because that's another thing, why now is to figure out why now in your application as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This last question is specifically referencing dramaturgy, but I think we could answer it for all concentrations. A lot of dramaturgs this year, yeah. As someone who's interested in hopefully existing in a space between practical performance and academia, what does the academic course load look like?
That's a little specific too, but I will say, and this is true, I think, for several of the concentrations, but there are sort of core courses in the dramaturgy track in theater history and theory and literature, and as well as like models of dramatic structure, which is also taught there are multiple disciplines represented in these courses all at the same time. They're not just for dramaturgy students. So we do have a core set of courses that apply to many of the different concentrations that provide a certain academic spine to what we're doing, because we certainly do want to engage practice with theory and history and where we've come from, how the field got where it is, an immersion in all kinds of different dramatic literature, et cetera. So that's sort of my answer to that question. There is a thread and a spine which we can show you on various lists of curricula if you're more specifically interested in that. What I would say that one question that comes up a lot for dramaturgy students, and I think it applies to some others as well, is like whether the MFA is a good pathway to the PhD. And what I would say about that is it's not the most direct pathway. If you think that if you know right now that what you want is a more scholarly career and to pursue academia as your primary focus, and academia, I mean, actually probably outside the scope of a training program like this, but more traditional scholarly pursuit, a direct MA to PhD program is probably the fastest and probably less expensive route actually to get there. That said, we've had a lot of students from this program in different disciplines ultimately choose to go get a PhD because they expanded their sort of sense of what they wanted to do, and they didn't necessarily know that that was what they wanted to do when they got here. And later on, they decided to go pursue a PhD, and we've had many students have a lot of success in that area. So it's not that it's in any way a problem. It's just not the most direct route.
Anyone else want to talk about the balance of academic classes versus practice?
Well, I'll only say that at least for me with my advisees, I always remind them that they are in the middle of Columbia University. There's a lot here. So yes, we are, as Christian said, this is a program that is about the practice. There are academic, even, there are courses that are more academic. We certainly try and bring in reading and material like that, but you are also, you look around you, right? And you have access to lectures and exhibits and people and resources and stuff that fuel the part of you that is intellectually curious and occasionally needs a break from the practice, because I think we sometimes need that. And if you need that, it's here.
Harry, who was mentioned earlier, you and Nikita are doing Austin Quigley's class over in the English. Austin Quigley is a giant. I've been here for 20 years. I've never met the man, but he's like a giant. He's pretty impressive. Is that fair to say, Harry? Yeah. So Harry's like learning from a giant. So there is the possibility. There are giants on this campus to learn from. It's called Columbia.
Right, and that may not be clear either to people that there, in many concentrations there's room throughout the curriculum for elective courses. We have robust offerings within the theater program itself, but many students also expand outward into the rest of the School of the Arts or beyond into the other schools in the university. So that is possible, and it's become more possible too in the third year. It's not really official yet, but it's become more possible to kind of observe and audit classes as third years when many people have a little bit more time. So.
All right, so I think this concludes this portion of the panel. I want to thank everyone for speaking and for being here on Zoom.